All right, so this is the video that demonstrates an idea how we can approach the sound plugin for the Grasshopper project. So I'm going to start from scratch by cloning the repo of the Grasshopper. So in short, my idea is that uh, we can have a separate level that incorporates all the sound assets in it. And this level will be loaded always, but it will be a separate file. And that way, any changes made to this level will not introduce any changes to the main level of the game. And that way we can preserve the collaboration of multiple developers working on the same game. So the goal is to prevent, not to prevent, to minimize as much as we can shared modifications to the common assets and common levels and maps in Unreal. So first, I'm gonna generate plugin code from the boilerplate plugin. For that, we actually can run this command. I'm gonna give it test sound name for this plugin. All right, so the code has been generated. I'm gonna open Unreal project now. Now Grasshopper AR demo folder. And we can see in the plugins, we have a test sound folder with the generated code for the plugin. When you first open the project, it will ask you to compile all the plugin code. Meantime, we can open GitHub desktop client so we can see what's going on in our repos, so we can track changes. And I think I have this added already. Let me just re-add it really quick. So this Grasshopper is the demo one. Gonna remove it. I'm gonna remove the test sound. So now I'm gonna re-add the repos. So first is gonna be our sound plugin. And then the second is gonna be our shell app. Okay. It's still compiling plugins. So when plugins are compiled, some of them may yield changes in their source code, and this is fine. We're just gonna disregard these changes here. but we can see that the test sound plugin was added as a submodule here. And then we're gonna go to the test sound, and after we finalize steps from the instruction here, right? So we just did the step number 1, actually 1 and 2, and 3 is already done because we used the shell app. And the final is going to be step number 4. We need to rename the blueprint widget file, and maybe we'll need to enable plugin and restart the project. We'll see if it's not enabled automatically. All right, so we're gonna navigate and complete the final step. Test sound, we need to rename this file and call it test sound module panel. Okay, and I think plugin was enabled automatically. If we go here, we see test sound is enabled. So now if that changes, we make a commit. So we should disregard these changes because these are some temporary files. We can ignore them. We just discard these changes, and we make first commit to our test sound plugin. Not gonna push it because we not intend to publish it for this demo. We can double check shell app. There were some changes made by Unreal, but these are non-essential. We can discard them as well. And we ignored these changes for now. All right, so here's the idea. The test sound content, let me open the Finder window for the test sound. So here's the folder that has content for the plugin. The idea is that all the assets that that relate to the sound will be placed in this folder. So if it needs to be a blueprint, there should be a blueprints folder, subfolder, and then all the blueprints added to it. Assets added into assets subfolder, maps added into maps subfolder. Actually, the structure is not important, but it's better to have certain structure to organize things. There's also source code, which might be used if needed, or maybe not. Right now, I'm gonna demonstrate the sub-level approach without writing any code. So I'm gonna create a folder called maps. I'm gonna create a folder called assets. In the maps, we're gonna create a new level. I'm gonna call it soundscape. Save all. Unreal will ask us to save the level. We'll save it. So now, if we go to GitHub, not GitHub, Git, and check the status of Git for our plugin, we see that there is a map was added, right? So we say edit soundscape sub level, and we call it sub level, but it's really just a level. We just haven't set it up yet as a sub level. To set it up as a sub level, we need to do changes to the shell app, right? So in a shell app, we have this amp base level, which is a persistent level. And here in the levels window, we add existing sublevel, and we select our soundscape level. Once we added it, it's there, it's in the game. The only thing we need to change is this blue dot that represents that the level is not loaded by default, but loaded through a blueprint. So instead, what we want to do is change the streaming method to always loaded. So now you see the level name is in a bold font, which means that we're currently in this level. So any things that we add to the scene will be added automatically to this level. If we switch to any other level, it means that that whatever we drop in a game will be added to this level. So we're working with the soundscape now, and let's look just to double check what's going on with the main repo. And we can see that there are no really changes, right? Even though we just added a sound level as a sub level, there are no changes unless, yeah, we haven't saved it. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now there will be changes. So now there is a change that the base level has some stuff, right? So this change must be published in a main repo of the app, right? But since there is no access to the main repo of the app, this whole process should be done through a pull request. So let me finish the setup and I will talk more about the pull request. So we're gonna add sound assets here in our sound plugin. So I open here starter project in Unreal. So just for the sake of the demo, we're gonna drop this music asset. So we have this music. We can create a cue out of it. I'm gonna call it, I don't know, sound Q1. Save. We go back to our test sound repo. We see all these changes that we made. I'm gonna save them. So now when we get this cue and we drop it into the scene, since the soundscape is selected, when we select an actor, our sound cue, it says that selected actor in soundscape level. This is what we want. And for better navigation, I suggest to create a folder here in a level, in a world outliner. To create new folder, I'll call it soundscape, right? And we can start adding things like trigger volume box. Place it here. It will require additional movement, like you move all your assets under the folder, but it's nice and organized. and we know that all the sound things will be stored in this folder. So we added this trigger volume box. We want to save all, and here I want to stress that the changes were made to the M soundscape file, even though we opened the scene, right, with the persistent level and all. The changes were really made to soundscape level, right? And this is a very powerful thing because developers can still work in the same scene, but in their own respective sublevels and not clash with each other when they make changes. We're going to save. I'm going to go to the repo and say that edit trigger box and cue actor. And at this point, I think so the modifications that we made in the previous step to the base level map were the only ones needed, right? So when we added soundscape as a sublevel, that's all that was needed. So here we will do a commit. We say and there should be no more changes to the Grasshopper repo. All the changes, all the sounds will all be in a isolated repo of the sound plugin, right? But this change in a Grasshopper repo should be incorporated into the main repo of Grasshopper, because right now we have just local copy of the Grasshopper repo, but it should be incorporated as a pull request, right? To make it pull request, let me demonstrate how one might do it. So we need to fork the project. I'm going to fork it under my account. Might take some time. And this fork we're going to use to push our local changes. So here we see that we have just one remote, which is origin, right? And this origin points to the main repo. So we cannot push to this repo, right? But we can push to our own fork. So what we can do, we're going to add remote. I got the syntax of it. Is add name and URL. Okay, git remote add. We're gonna say my fork and give it a URL. Now we can double check what's the status here. So we have these unrelated changes. We can see that the latest commit was added soundscape as sublevel. This is what we want to incorporate in the main repo, right? So we're gonna do push to my fork. Beautiful. And here, I want to double check that it's here. So at this point, we want to incorporate this change to the main repo to the actual main repo on GitHub, right? So for that, we're gonna create a new pull request. We're gonna say pull request, and we're gonna say pull request. We merge in our local branch, our fork, right, under our account to the original repo, right? And we merge from master to master, and we can see that these are the commits that we want to merge, right? And we create a pull request. So then I will go on on a GitHub and I'll see, oh, there is a pull request. Oh, there is a new sublevel added. and I can merge it. In this case, I'm going to close it and I'm going to decline it because it's just a demo. But this is how I will incorporate this change from anyone who makes updates to the main repo. So back to the sound. This is basically it. The last thing that I want to mention is that if there is a need in level blueprints, there is no need to modify the blueprint for the persistent level. We go here, there is a open level blueprint button, which will open this blueprint for the main level. But what we really want to do in our case is open a blueprint for our sublevel, for the soundscape. And then we're gonna do changes here, whatever we need to do. So we're gonna look at the repo, test sound repo. There are no changes yet. So for example, we want to do something on when actor overlaps with the trigger volume box, right? So we say on overlap, overlap, what was an event, yeah, event actor begin overlap. Wait, no, that's not it. We didn't pick up the trigger volume box. Maybe we want to do something else, like drop this sound here, and then we want to fade it in. Fade in. For example, we fade it in with on event begin play, whatever. So once we've done these changes, we save it. We see that even though we modify blueprint, blueprint is part of UMap, right? So we save it. So we added blueprint, changed level blueprint. And there you go. So this is basically it. So the idea is that for actors, so for any things that needs to be added to the scene, we use a sublevel that is associated with this particular plugin. And in this example, it's a sound plugin. So any actors that we drop in the scene, they should be added to this level. And one should pay close attention to which level is currently selected. So we can monitor it through this little window. All the assets are added under the content folder of the plugin. And of course, all the code is added again under the plugin source folder here. Right, so there is, if there is a need to write a custom C++ actor, then one can add it here. And I think this is all. This is my proposal on how we can approach working with the sound in a collaborative environment.